Hi there, it's Carly here from Upgraded Leadership. In this video, I want to talk about time pressure and being pulled in all kinds of different directions. I think this is a theme that most of us can relate to. And this is part of a larger set of themes that I'm wanting to explore at the moment about responsibility. That is, our ability to respond. And I want to look at this theme across a number of different challenges. So the challenge that I want to look at today is time pressure, right? So what does responsibility look like when it comes to time pressure? Like, how do we respond resourcefully to these types of pressures of too much to do, not enough time, constantly feeling tired, constantly having a to-do list that just seems to get larger rather than shorter. Now, I imagine you can relate to this. I certainly feel this a lot of the time. So what do you do about this? How do you respond to this kind of situation resourcefully? Well, one of the key things that I think is really important is noticing what state you're in as you're tackling these things. If I'm going to be resourceful in my response, I need to be in a resourceful kind of state. So if you're in a state in which you're feeling like your nervous system is in a really kind of frenetic kind of pace, fight flight kind of mode that is not actually sustainable, or you're even like kind of a bit on the other side of that, on the burnout side of that, where your adrenals are feeling really squeezed, which means you're probably having trouble sleeping and getting to sleep, and just always kind of like on this kind of go mode in which you're just in a way kind of jumpy at the things coming at you. Well, then that's a really important sign that you need to pause. You need to pause and go, hang on, this is not sustainable. I need to shift my commitment somehow to make sure that I'm resourcing myself in a way that I can action this stuff so that I feel good, you know, and when I feel good in how I'm actioning these things, of course, I'm going to also actually be more effective in my response to them. You know, I'm going to be calmer. My rational brain is going to be online a whole lot more, so I'm going to be able to think through what I'm doing a lot better. I'm going to be a nicer person to be around because I'm not going to be kind of highly strung. So, okay, well, that's kind of easy for me to say. Well, reevaluate my commitments, but like, how do you kind of go about doing that? Well, one of the key things, of course, is to actually even just get clear on what your commitments are and what your priorities are. I think I'm a big fan of just like creating lists. You know, quite often if I'm feeling out of control and I'm feeling really overwhelmed, I know that that's a sign that I need to sit down and I need to make a list. What are all the things that have my attention? Quite often there's things that have my attention that I'm like, it's like I'm not even aware that they have my attention. It's kind of, it subconsciously has my attention, and then I'm kind of got this feeling of stress or foreboding, knowing that there's things that I need to do, but I can't quite remember what they all are. So sitting down and actually writing the list and getting clear on, well, what is actually really urgent, you know, what is going to fall over if I don't actually action this thing in today or quickly, is going to have consequences. And if there's things on your list that aren't going to have major consequences, well, then you can deprioritize these things. You can do them later. And sometimes we have to get right with maybe some of our expectations and letting some of those things go. Maybe I don't get to doing the washing, or maybe I don't get to reply to that email that I wanted to reply to. But if I really sit with it, you know, it's going to be okay that the washing doesn't get done today, or, you know, I never actually made a promise that I would reply to that person's email today, or if I did, it's not that big a deal if I let that person know that, hang on, I'm not going to get to it tomorrow, right? So, and I think there's a lot of things that tend to be on our list when we put them down that are in that kind of category that we can they're actually, it's not that big a deal if we defer them and we renegotiate our commitments and we kind of push them back a little bit. So really this is the key strategy that I wanted to recommend today, of kind of just making sure that if you're feeling kind of out of control and you're being pulled in lots and lots of different directions at once, that you notice that, you use that as a trigger to then pause, take stock, create your list, figure out, you know, what is actually has a big impact if you don't do that thing today or not, and what else can you defer. Now, of course, sometimes there are things on our lists that do have big impacts if we don't action them early. You know, maybe there's whatever it is, it's a sale of a house that we need to kind of move on quickly and we've got to get all the paperwork ready, or there's an important project that, you know, we know a competitor has kind of a product that's coming out, and if we don't get a product out early enough, well then it's going to have an impact to kind of our brand or something like that. So sometimes we do, I think, need to hustle and kind of push to make stuff happen. So I think it's like important to get clear on what those things are and when it's really worthwhile doing that hustle or not. Now there's one kind of bigger picture caveat to me, which is that we can easily get into this mode of like treating lots of things as really, really important, and we can start to kind of, particularly for those of us who are kind of like the high achievers, you know, and kind of we want to set these deadlines for ourselves to achieve these audacious goals and kind of make the big things kind of happen in our lives, which is awesome, and I kind of applaud that. But I also think it can really easily set us up in this position where we're not happy in our lives. You know, we're like, we have these expectations of ourselves that we want to achieve these big goals, but through the process of walking the path to achieve those goals, we're just stressed all the time, you know, and kind of just feeling kind of the anxiety of not meeting our own self expectations. So if that is striking a chord for you, well then I encourage you to do in a sense an even bigger pause. This is an opportunity to actually maybe take a bigger period of time out to really reconsider your values and kind of what's actually important to you. Because if we're not enjoying ourselves along the way of achieving audacious goals, well then I would challenge you that maybe it's not worth it, because, you know, life is precious, and I think it's important to kind of savor what's happening along the way. The last little thing that I want to say is a nice strategy that I think can be really helpful to try and kind of fit all the things in is what I think of as kind of action stacking. So what I'm doing right now, to me, is an example of action stacking. I'm on my way to an appointment, and at the same time I'm recording this video. Now this to me is different to multitasking. I think multitasking is a myth. Really, there is just shifting contexts and tasks like very quickly, and that type of context switching is really not good for us. It kind of frazzles our attention and means that we don't have higher quality attention on what we're doing. However, there's certain tasks that we can do to some degree automatically. So driving right now, I don't need to give it a lot of attention, right? So maybe every now and again I need to kind of become very present if there's like somebody suddenly swerves and so on. Of course, that's really important, but this is the type of action that I can stack other actions onto at the same time. I can be present to my own stream of thought and what I want to be sharing, and kind of looking at the camera here and there at the same time as kind of following my maps and getting to my appointment. And I think these are great strategies. I do this all the time when I'm doing dishes. These days I'm starting to kind of use the audio function in ChatGPT to kind of do my thinking and get feedback on my thinking and develop my thinking. And just particularly with a very full life, like I feel having a small baby and just in family life, I think it's really, really helpful to adopt an action stacking kind of strategy. So that's my little tip about being response able in response to just feeling a challenging time. I hope you receive some value out of that. Please let me know if you do. I'd love to hear some of your story.